Something happens to good men after they become dads that nobody warns them about. One day, you're her partner. The next day, you're background support. You think you're just tired from broken sleep and learning new routines. You're not tired, you're rewired. Your brain installed new software that runs constantly in the background and it never shuts off. This psychological shift blindsides every new dad, and the confusion you're feeling about who you are now is completely normal. You think it's about being exhausted from night feedings and diaper changes. What it actually is, your brain became a monitoring station the second your child arrived. It's like someone installed surveillance software that tracks everything: diaper supplies, sleep schedules, feeding times, doctor appointments, developmental milestones. But it goes deeper than logistics. You're running constant threat assessments on everything in your environment. Is that cough normal? Should we worry about that fall? What if something happens to me? Your mind never stops calculating, protecting, planning. This is what I call the invisible inventory. Your brain maintains a real-time database of everything that affects your child's safety and well-being. The brutal truth is this mental monitoring system never goes offline. You're at work, but part of your processing power is reserved for bedtime routines. You're having dinner, but you're mentally reviewing whether you child-proofed that outlet. Before becoming a father, your decision-making was straightforward. Now every choice gets filtered through this new responsibility matrix. Should we switch formulas? Is this the right preschool? How much should we spend on clothes they'll outgrow in 3 months? Your partner might not see this load because it's happening entirely inside your head. They see you physically present, but they don't see the constant background processing consuming your mental bandwidth every moment. This is what I call the Dad OS. New operating system, same hardware. Here's where it gets dangerous. You start thinking something's wrong with you. You used to be sharp, focused, capable of handling multiple priorities without breaking a sweat. Now you feel scattered, overwhelmed, like you're constantly behind on everything. You're not broken. You're running exponentially more complex software on the same hardware. The planning horizon of your life extends decades into the future in ways it never did before. You're not just thinking about next weekend anymore. You're thinking about college funds, what kind of world they'll inherit, what values you want to instill. Your threat detection system gets completely recalibrated. You notice sharp corners on tables, how fast other drivers are going, whether the person walking behind you at the grocery store seems trustworthy. This hypervigilance is exhausting. Even when your child is sleeping peacefully, part of your brain is listening for sounds, monitoring their breathing, ready to respond to any need. Nobody tells dads this, but the weight of being responsible for another human being's entire existence settles into your psyche in ways you never anticipated. It's not just about keeping them alive today. You're suddenly responsible for their emotional development, their future opportunities, their sense of security in the world. That's a massive psychological shift that happens literally overnight. The invisible weight affects every decision, every moment of your day, every attempt to be present. You're not just managing your own life anymore. You're managing the foundation for someone else's entire future. Think of it like this. Your brain used to be a personal assistant managing one person's schedule. Now it's mission control for a space launch that lasts 18 years. Is it any wonder you feel scattered? The cognitive overload is real. Every micro decision that never existed before now runs through your mental processor. Before kids, you had bandwidth for spontaneous decisions, creative thinking, deep focus on personal interests. Now that same cognitive capacity is split between your pre-dad responsibilities and this massive new operational load. No wonder everything feels harder. No wonder you feel like you're operating at half speed in areas that used to be effortless. Here's the part nobody tells dads. This invisible inventory is necessary. Your brain is doing exactly what evolution designed it to do. The monitoring, the planning, the constant awareness. It's all part of keeping your child safe and helping them thrive. Something happens to your brain that you don't see coming. Your priorities don't just shift, they get completely rewired at a neurological level without your permission. It's not a conscious decision you make. It's an automatic recalibration that happens overnight, and it can feel disorienting because you're still the same person, but your internal compass is pointing in an entirely different direction. Think of it like this. You used to navigate life with one GPS system. Now someone installed completely different navigation software, and every destination you thought you were heading toward suddenly routes through a different path. That promotion opportunity that would require more travel, Your first thought isn't about career advancement anymore. It's about missing bedtime stories and weekend mornings with your kid. Your relationship with ambition gets complicated. You still want to succeed, but success itself gets redefined in ways that catch you off guard. The drive to climb the corporate ladder might feel less urgent when you realize that every hour spent networking after work is an hour away from watching your child discover the world. The brutal truth is this: the guilt cycle starts almost immediately. You want personal time, you need it. But taking it feels selfish in a way it never did before. Personal time that used to recharge you now feels stolen from your family. The guilt tax gets applied to everything. This guilt isn't rational, but it's real. You're not actually being selfish by maintaining parts of your identity that existed before you became a dad. But your brain is running new programming that makes everything feel like it should be evaluated against your child's needs first. Taking care of yourself feels like a luxury you're not sure you deserve anymore. The math just doesn't work when your brain keeps calculating whether your personal needs are more important than family time. But here's the thing: the guilt is a compass, not a verdict. It's pointing you toward what matters most, not condemning you for having needs. Social relationships shift in ways that catch you off guard. Friends without kids don't understand why you can't just grab drinks after work anymore, or why you need to leave parties by 9. It's not just about logistics or babysitter costs. Your interests have fundamentally changed. Conversations that used to engage you feel surface level now. You find yourself gravitating toward other parents, not because you planned it, but because they understand the psychological space you're occupying. Here's the part nobody tells dads. You start experiencing what feels like mourning for your pre-dad self, and that's confusing because you love being a father. You're not sad about having a child. You're grieving the simplicity of your old life, the spontaneity, the ability to make decisions based purely on what you wanted. That version of yourself didn't disappear overnight, but he's not driving the bus anymore. This mourning process is normal, but it feels weird to acknowledge because you're supposed to be celebrating this new chapter. Your definition of success and fulfillment undergoes a complete overhaul. Achievements that used to give you satisfaction feel hollow if they come at the expense of family time. Making your child laugh becomes more rewarding than closing a big deal. Watching them master a new skill gives you a sense of pride that's different from any professional accomplishment you've ever had. The strangest part is how automatic all of this feels. You didn't sit down and decide to reorganize your value system. It just happened. Your brain rewired itself to prioritize this new human being above everything else, including yourself. Some days that feels natural and right. Other days it feels overwhelming and confusing. Nobody tells dads this, but the cognitive dissonance is extraordinary. You're the same person who had dreams, ambitions, personal goals, but now those things feel secondary to something you never even knew existed 6 months ago. The equations that used to determine your choices have been completely rewritten, and you're still learning how to solve for this new variable in every decision you make. Your emotional bandwidth gets stretched thin in ways you didn't anticipate. Before becoming a father, you had a certain capacity for handling stress, managing your reactions, processing difficult feelings. Now that same emotional infrastructure has to carry exponentially more weight. It shows up in unexpected ways that nobody warned you about. You're dealing with your own overwhelming feelings about this massive life change while simultaneously trying to be the calm, stable presence your family needs. Your partner is going through their own intense emotional experience. Your child needs consistent care and attention, and somehow you're supposed to hold it all together. The pressure to be the rock becomes this constant background stress that eats away at you. Society expects fathers to be steady, reliable, unflappable. You're not a rock, you're a bridge. But inside, you're processing fear about whether you're doing everything right, anxiety about providing for your family's future, grief for the simplicity of your old life, and overwhelming love for this tiny person who's completely dependent on you. That's a lot of emotional complexity to manage, while everyone expects you to be the stable one. The brutal truth is this: you're not equipped with the emotional tools for this level of psychological demand. Sleep deprivation amplifies every emotional response in ways that catch you completely off guard. That minor disagreement with your partner that you would have normally brushed off, now it feels like a relationship crisis. The work deadline that used to be manageable stress, now it feels impossible. Your emotional regulation system is running on fumes, and everything feels more intense, more urgent, more overwhelming than it used to. Think of it like this. Your emotional system used to be like a well-maintained car engine. Now it's running on empty while pulling a massive trailer uphill. Every bump in the road feels like it might break the whole system. You find yourself having emotional reactions that don't feel like you. Maybe you tear up during commercials about fathers and children. Maybe you get irrationally angry about things that never bothered you before. Maybe you feel waves of anxiety about scenarios that haven't even happened yet. Your emotional thermostat got completely recalibrated, and you're still learning how to operate this new system. Here's the part nobody tells dads. The identity confusion hits hardest during quiet moments. Who is that guy in the mirror? You look in the mirror and see the same face, but you don't feel like the same person. The guy who used to make decisions quickly now second-guesses everything. The man who used to handle stress without breaking a sweat now feels overwhelmed by choosing what to make for dinner. The emotional turbulence isn't a character flaw. It's your system adapting to a new, higher baseline of demand. The worst part is that nobody validates this emotional experience. Everyone focuses on how your partner is handling the transition, how the baby is developing, how the family is adjusting. But nobody asks how you're processing this fundamental shift in your identity and emotional landscape. You're expected to just adapt without acknowledging that adaptation is actually incredibly difficult work. Learning to validate your own emotional experience becomes crucial. You're not being dramatic when you feel overwhelmed. You're not weak when you need support. You're not failing when you struggle to regulate emotions that feel foreign and intense. The key is understanding that emotional regulation under these new conditions requires different strategies. You can't power through like you used to. You need to build in recovery time, acknowledge when you're running on empty, and create space for processing these intense feelings instead of just pushing them down. Your relationship with your partner doesn't just add a child to the mix. It gets completely reconstructed from the ground up, and nobody warns you that the couple who decided to have a baby together doesn't exist anymore. You're not the same two people who made that decision. You're two entirely different people, trying to figure out how to be partners while navigating the most intense psychological transformation either of you has ever experienced. The intimacy challenge hits you from multiple angles that catch you both off guard. Physical exhaustion makes everything harder, but it goes deeper than just being tired. Your communication patterns shift in ways that blindside you. Conversations that used to flow naturally now feel transactional and mechanical. Who's handling the night feeding? Did you remember to schedule the pediatrician appointment? When was the last diaper change? You're coordinating logistics more than you're actually connecting as human beings. The brutal truth is this. You start keeping score without realizing it. Who got more sleep? Who's doing more of the childcare? Who's making more sacrifices for the family? This mental accounting system poisons your connection because you're both giving everything you have, but it never feels like enough. The math just doesn't work when both people are operating at their absolute limit. Think of it like this. You used to be two people sharing resources from separate accounts. Now you're trying to manage a joint account that's constantly overdrawn while both of you need more than what's available. The scarcity creates tension and resentment that didn't exist before. Your partner is going through their own version of everything you're experiencing. The identity shift, the emotional overwhelm, the physical exhaustion, the guilt about personal needs. But their experience looks different from yours, so it's easy to assume they're handling it better. Here's where it gets dangerous. You both start drowning quietly while pretending everything is manageable. She seems fine handling the baby, so you assume she doesn't need support. You're struggling with the emotional weight, but you don't want to burden her with your confusion. Both of you are suffering in isolation while living in the same house. The connection drift happens gradually, then suddenly. You realize you haven't had a real conversation in weeks that wasn't about schedules, supplies, or logistics. You're roommates managing a household instead of partners building a life together. Physical intimacy becomes another item on an impossible to-do list. When you're both running on empty, connection feels like another demand rather than something that refills you. Nobody tells dads this, but the worst part is how easy it becomes to assume you know what your partner is thinking or feeling. You stop asking because you're both too tired for real conversations. You stop sharing because you assume they won't understand or they're too overwhelmed to handle your struggles too. The emotional distance grows while you're physically closer than ever. The solution isn't more communication, it's different communication. Schedule 15 minutes of logistics-free time together. No schedules, no supplies, no baby talk. Just two people who used to know each other trying to reconnect. The relationship you're building now is different from what you had before, and that's not necessarily bad. You didn't get weak when you became a father. You got responsible for something infinitely more complex than you ever imagined. This psychological shift is the hidden curriculum of fatherhood that no one prepares you for. Your brain rewired itself overnight to handle responsibilities that didn't exist before. The confusion, the emotional weight, the identity crisis, it's all part of adapting to the most important job you'll ever have. Subscribe for more insights into the mental game of modern fatherhood.